Hi people, today we'll tell you about our latest release about TrueConf Server version 4.3.9, which we have released later last week. The version 4.3.9 of TrueConf Server. It has a lot of new features, and I think it will take approximately 45 to 60 minutes to cover all of them. Basically, not actually all of them, but some of them. For all changes, you have to refer to the changelog, which we have available on our website. Let me show you. So we have a slides which cover some of these changes for demonstration purposes. Like on the previous webinar, I will capture my screen to show you these demonstrations. You already seen during our previous webinar about 5 secrets of TrueConf solutions, the new interface for our webinar solution. I don't want to waste your time and talk about the same stuff already, you know already. However, for people who didn't saw our last webinar, I will show you. So this is the interface of our web conference or webinar, which utilize WebRTC technology. You are using it right now, so you can see that it is totally different compared to the previous version of our web conference interface. Well, the most important changes were done regarding layouts. So right now you can see that if needed, I can make content larger and the video window smaller. Let me capture my camera. Yeah, here's my camera. So I can change the layout very easily by clicking on this icon. So and every participant can do the same. So if you would like to focus on the content, you make content larger. If you'd like to focus on the speaker, you can make speaker larger. If you don't want to see the content, you can minimize it or maximize again. So very straightforward. You can see that new interface already have pretty nice chat. I can send messages to some particular participant and have multiple chats simultaneously using this window. You see that I have 2 chats, active chats, one with Arsene and second one with the participants of this webinar. We also have the special pane for participants where I can control devices, invite to the podium, remove from the conference, assign moderator rights, mute microphones, send personal messages. So everything you expect from regular client application is available in web conference application right now. So we can control layouts using this new web conferencing interface. So for example, I can invite onto the podium someone else. Hello, Alina. Yeah. Hi. So I can make her bigger, and you'll start to see her bigger. And I can change the layout. And this layout affects every participant. Something we don't tell you last time is that this layout affects not only WebRTC participants, but all third-party protocol participants. So this layout affects connected to the same conference 3-to-3 NSIP endpoints. It also affects the streaming session, which can be active for this conference. I mean, the RTSP stream, which can be delivered to some CDN or streaming platform, let's say YouTube, Facebook Live, or Vovza, or some other streaming platforms. And most importantly, the layout I select using web conferencing interface also affects the server-side recording. So I can change the layout, and it will also be reflected in the recording we have. Okay, so now you can see my screen again. I have a small cog located on the bottom menu where I can select my video camera and my microphone, which will be used during web conference session. And content capture. So I can select which display to capture in WebRTC session. This particular user of WebRTC is not on the podium, so it makes no sense to capture his screen, but it is possible. Okay, Alina, thank you. I will show you how to remove participant from the podium. So I will use drop-down menu. I have selected it above Alina menu item, and that's it. Yeah, thank you. Next important feature of the new release 4.3.9 is very precise, the ability of very precise configuration of the built-in gateway. As you know, our client applications use our proprietary protocol. So if we'd like to connect to some legacy equipment or to other system participants, we have to transcode the video stream, audio stream, and content. So the built-in gateway allows easily to do this using many different protocols and many different video codecs and audio codecs. So before, the configuration of this available video codecs and audio codecs was global. So if you disable or enable some video codecs, it will affect all possible connections to all possible legacy equipment. So right now it is possible to provide different video codec and audio codec selection for every endpoint. It is also possible to provide different configuration like registration type and authentication data for every endpoint or MCU or PBX. And the good thing is that TrueConf Server is capable to maintain many active connections to those endpoints by means of very simple interface, which I will show you right now. So this is the server we are actually streaming from, this video TrueConf.com admin panel, where we held the webinar. So right now it is possible to create individual rules for every connection. So you see that the interface of this settings has changed a little bit. So we don't have default voice IP server and default SIP gateway settings anymore. These settings could be applied by assigning a special role to some new configuration. To create a new configuration, you basically need to create a configuration button. You create a configuration by selecting the template for it. For example, I'd like to create a configuration to some existing legacy endpoint. Click Create. For example, I can name it, let's say, Lync T49G. Sometimes my screen is not clear, indeed, because the video stream is delivered using WebRTC, and your connection to our server, which is located currently in Germany, the server we're using for this webinar is located in Germany, is not good. So, but it is an issue between you and the server. So please wait a little bit. It should be better. So all I need is to specify the IP address of the endpoint for which I'd like to create a special set of rules. I will create some dummy address just to show you how it works. So we have to enter the address in the host field port. If we need to authenticate, okay, I will make my screen a little bit scaled up. Yeah. So the idea is the ability to provide separate authentication details for every endpoint, or in this case, it could be some gatekeeper or MCU or PBX or some other endpoint which require a secured connection. So we can select registration time like permanent or disabled, or we can set up the system to initialize authorization just before the call. So many different settings. So you see that I can create many different settings for this particular endpoint. I can select the codecs which will be available for this connection. Well, basically you don't need to change this, but for some endpoints, let's say for life size, it is important because they don't use native, not native, like regular implementation for some audio codecs. So it is better to disable some audio codecs. I don't know which one. Our technical support team know which one. For example, to create special rule for some Logitech equipment. I'm sorry, life size, not Logitech, but life size equipment. And here we can enable some additional settings like enable content sharing. Well, it means enable BFCP protocol for this connection, or enable encoding. And this is something new. This version of the gateway supports SRTP encryption of data streams from our built-in gateway to a third-party endpoint and vice versa. Some endpoints require this, and some PBXs require this. We also supported in this version the ICE protocol. ICE protocol, ICE, is used for connectivity over NAT. So if your network configuration have some endpoints located behind NAT, using ICE, it is possible, it will be much easier to address them because our gateway will understand ICE commands. And the last part is regarding special roles. You have to refer to our documentation for detailed description of these roles. But the main idea is that if you assign a special default proxy role to a specific connection, that will allow you and allow your users to call every endpoint registered to that device, registered on that device, without specification of the address of the server. Well, it sounds complicated, but you better read the documentation. This is very useful. For example, if I will write down an example. For example, if we have, let's say, MCU, which is located on 10.10.10.5 IP address, without this special role enabled, if I'd like to call some endpoint, let's say HDX 6000 at 10.10.10.10.5, to reach this endpoint from TrueConf applications, I have to write down this command. So hash SIP colon HDX 6000, etc. So, but with this checkbox enabled, I can, let's write it this way. So if 10.10.10.10.5 is an MCU or gatekeeper, and this role is enabled, all my users don't need to enter their IP address part. It is not longer required because TrueConf Server, actually the gateway in it will add the IP address automatically for all outgoing calls. So by enabling this role, you allow your users to call devices registered on some remote MCU or gatekeeper without specifying the IP address of that gatekeeper. And the second role is called default voice IP server. It is a little bit different. It basically makes the same thing, but in connection with telephony. For example, if I'd like to call a telephony subscriber, I have to write something like that. Let's imagine that this is our Moscow number, 75495688666. And after that, I have to specify the PBX address. So let's say in our company, the PBX address is 10.10.10.6. Okay, so if I will call this address, it will reach the PBX and ask PBX to call this particular user. And if we have SIP trunk connected to that PBX, the PBX will try to reach this telephony number, the regular phone line. But our users, of course, don't want to call phone numbers in this way. It is much easier to call someone by means of the dial pad. So, for example, if I have a dial pad, yes, I have one, it is much more convenient to call someone using this way. Yeah, for example. So when you enter something here, it is redirected to the connection role with this checkbox enabled. So all dial pad commands are only applied to this role where default voice IP server is enabled. So basically, when I enter something in the dial pad, it translates this address into the following one. where the second part is taken from the host field automatically. So if you'd like to connect MCU, you put default C proxy checkbox. If you'd like to create a connection for PBX, you check this box, and it will be used for telephony service of your video conferencing server. That's it. Okay, let's create this new role. Once created, you can see that this role is added to the list of SIP connection rules. Currently, the server is trying to establish connection to the IP address 10.10.10.5, but it's not possible. This is a dummy address, not real one, so it will never finish as successful. But it shows you the idea that it is very easy to create new configuration using new version of TrueConf Server. And of course, if you'd like to create some global settings for all outgoing SIP calls and incoming SIP calls, you can use these global SIP settings. So the same is true. The same is true for free-to-free gateway settings. So actually, absolutely the same. So you can create some configuration or edit a new one or existing one, and select different support for different protocols and codecs. BFCP is labeled 239 here. SRTP encryption is labeled 235 here. So just corresponding similar protocols from a free-to-free world is available in this dialog window. But it is interesting to mention that we also supported this new protocol. It is labeled H235. This protocol is used for data stream encryption for free-to-free endpoints. So some endpoints require encryption, and we support this as well. We also support dial digits. That means it is possible to reach some remote endpoints registered on some gatekeeper or MCU, not by their login name, their ID, but by use of their phone number. So the syntax for this is as following: \E, / and some E and some phone number, let's say 8001. So by means of H323 gateway, it is possible to reach endpoints by using this notation, which is called E.164. I will write it down. So we also supported this notation, E.164 for free-to-free devices. And of course, you can apply the similar rules compared to SIP settings in free-to-free settings. So instead of SIP proxy, we have a gatekeeper checkbox. And instead of voice IP server, we also have the voice IP server, because some PBXs still use free-to-free protocol for telephony. So it is also possible to set up a PBX integration over free-to-free protocol using this special role and this special checkbox. So the only difference between SIP and free-to-free configuration right now is that free-to-free configuration don't have any templates. In SIP settings, we have to select the template, and I will cover this later. Let's check the slides. Yeah, the special template for Skype for Business. Skype for Business servers and Lync 2013. We support Lync 2013 and Skype for Business 2015 servers. This version of TrueConf Server do not support version of Lync 2010. So let me write this down for you. So Skype for Business 2015, Lync 2013 is okay. Lync 2010 is not supported yet. because they use the different set of video codecs, and signaling protocol is also different. So we decided to delay the support for this server a little bit. Currently, is only this version of Skype for Business are supported, but majority of customers use these versions. They are not so outdated like Lync 2010. That I think is okay for most of you. Okay, so let me show you how to create a special template for Skype for Business. Basically, it's absolutely the same like regular SIP template. The only difference, we have predefined port, which is 5061, which are used by Skype for Business server. I have a good question in chat. Let me show you. So I will write this in this way. So Office 365 is a cloud solution, and it is not supported. So everything is supported is on premise. So this version of TrueConf Server 4.3.9 only support on premises deployments of Skype for Business. No support for 365 yet. So this new template have some settings predefined. So you see that I cannot disable SRTP encryption, and I cannot disable NAT traversal by means of ISE protocol. So these things are disabled because they are required by Skype for Business. And another thing is the new video codec we have supported. It is called Microsoft X H264 UC. Well, basically, it is the old good H264, but they have implemented a little bit different headers. Well, I'm not a specialist in video encoding, but our developers have told me that it's almost the same regular H264, a little bit different implementation, but it's still a different codec. So we have supported it here. It is also not possible to disable it because it is required. And registration is also required by Skype for Business server because we have to connect to that server using login and password of Skype for Business user. So basically, TrueConf server register itself on a remote Skype for Business server and acts like a regular Skype for Business user. So TrueConf server behave like a user. So we can send him chat messages and it will understand them. So basically, TrueConf server understands many different commands which he can receive from Skype for Business endpoints and users. And vice versa, we can call many different users registered on Skype for Business server, and all of them will receive calls from TrueConf server user. It will be the same user every time. Just a moment. I have some messages. Yeah, not many new messages. Just a moment. Okay. I will not show you how to set up the Skype for Business connectivity here because we already do this, but in our local network. This server is located outside of our local network because it is used for webinars and for demonstration purposes. I will show you the the setup where Skype for Business integration was already done, and it is ready. So it is pretty straightforward and easy to set up connectivity to Skype for Business server. So let me show you how it works. Well, according to our slides, I have the demonstration for Skype for Business scheduled a little bit later. So let me show you. Let me show you the content for this slide first. So a bunch of new supported protocols. As I said, we have supported SRTP for SIP. It was designed for encryption, and H235 for H323, which also is responsible for encryption. We also supported ICE or ICE for NAT traversal. We also supported H264 UC for Skype for Business integration. This is a video codec. We also supported FECC for far-end camera control, for PTZ control on the server. We also supported, let me refer to the changelog because I don't remember all the names. Yeah, you can see that it is H224 and H281, which are used for PTZ camera control in V.3 environment. 224 and H281, again for PTZ control. So you can see that this new release provides support for many new protocols. And I think it is very good because the development of the built-in gateway always continue, and we try to provide interoperability for all available endpoints and third-party systems on the market. Next slide, a couple of video codecs. Yeah, the one is XH264UC for Skype for Business, and which is the second one, I don't remember, basically. Well, if I remember which one, I will tell you later. Yeah, Skype for Business interoperability, finally. Let me show you how it works. This is my client application, which is registered on our local server, and it is located in our VPN, where Skype for Business server is also located. So it is required to call Skype for Business endpoints and users to create a special account for TrueConf Server on Skype for Business site. Please refer to documentation to learn more about this. In our documentation, just a moment, we have written a special section which cover in details the process of Skype for Business integration. So it tells you how to set up this user, etc. Once you set up this user, it is possible to reach Skype for Business users from TrueConf Client application. So I have Skype for Business endpoint here. And all I have to do is to call Skype for Business user over C protocol. In our system, to call over C protocol, I have to enter hash, SIP, and colon. And after the colon, I have to specify the username of Skype for Business user I'd like to reach. My Skype for Business client is authenticated under username user8. So let me call him user8. I will copy to my notebook what I'm calling. So this is the address. Okay, let's scroll a little bit. So I will call this user. And after that, I will receive the call in my corner. I'm sorry for Russian localization for Skype for Business client, but I don't think it will create any problem for you. So you can see that the quality of video is pretty nice. It actually scales from 360p to 720p, depending on network conditions. And it is possible to do a lot of funny things using this Skype for Business integration. So let me show you. I will drop this call and show you how to call back. So I know that user 9 is actually a special user under which the TrueConf server is connected, is registered on Skype for Business server. I will write down this for you, just a moment. So user 9 is actually a TrueConf server. This is for your reference. So I will open a chat with user 9 and will try to call him. And the call will be immediately terminated. You see that the call is terminated because it is not possible to call TrueConf server user because it is a gateway, and we didn't tell the gateway the default destination for when someone call it. It is when default destination is not set, nobody will be called. So the call was dropped. But instead, the gateway sent me a text message which cover all commands it supports. You can see that it has special commands like call. I will duplicate them here to make them bigger. Call, conf, invite, podium, and remove. These commands allows you to control the conference on the TrueConf server. Okay, so what I want to do is to call my user back from Skype for Business. To call back, I have to tell TrueConf server user, which is user 9, a special command, which will sound like call LYAKUPOV. This is my ID in our system. And I have to not call. I don't need to press here. I have to send the message. And our server will call me back. Okay, I'm accept the invitation. And it also calls my client application. The server calls my client application. And when I reply, the gateway connect us together. Yeah, the resolution will scale a little bit. Let's make, yep. Here we are. So we are connected. Not very straightforward, but it is possible. So if you'd like to call TrueConf users from Skype for Business, you have to deal with this special account which you create during integration. If you'd like to call Skype for Business users from our application, all you have to do is to create contacts in your address book. So, let's say user 8 and Skype for Business user 8 account. Okay. Yeah, it is already in my address book. So where it is? Yeah, here it is. So I can call Skype for Business user by double clicking this address book entry. So this is pretty simple. So from TrueConf side, it is easy to call. From Skype for Business side, you have to send special commands. So what about multi-point conferences? Again, this is pretty simple. So let me show you in both directions. So we can create conference on TrueConf server side. For that, I will send a special command conf and specify my ID and specify IDs of my colleagues, Alina and Arsen. This is the command. I will duplicate it here. So I separate IDs of users I'd like to invite into the conference by commas. And after that, I have to send that message. That's pretty simple. I accept invitation myself. I accept invitation on TrueConf Client application. And we have to wait for other users to accept the invitation as well. So you see that we are connected in the conference together with Arsen. Hi, Arsen. For example, we have 3 people in the conference, and I'd like to invite someone else. I have a special command like invite, and after that, I have to send the message to the server, and it will send invitation for Alina to join this conference. Hi, Alina. Okay, I will scale a little bit the video. I have switched to the full screen. Yeah, the video have scaled, so now you can see 4 of us in the same conference. Okay, let's return to the normal view. So we mixed transcode the layout for Skype for Business conferences. So it is possible to invite into the same conference different endpoints, SIP and 3-to-3 endpoints by means of these commands, or we can do the same stuff from TrueConf application. Let me show you that as well. So I dropped this call for everyone. Thank you, guys. Yeah, 4 stars. That sounds good. Take my feedback, Microsoft. From TrueConf client application side, I basically have to do the same stuff. I create a conference. I'm in the conference. After that, I have to find people. Okay, Alina, Arsen, and Skype for Business endpoint. So we have created the conference. by means of our address book, by means of TrueConf Client application. And the conference is mixed for Skype for Business user as well. So you can invite Skype for Business users into your regular conferences, basically by double clicking them in your address book. This is very nice. Okay, let's drop this call. Thank you, guys. And the last but not least, most important case for Skype for Business integration is to connect Skype for Business users with your room equipment. So I have in our local network, we have pretty old Tandberg endpoint, which we will use a little bit later for PTZ camera control as well. But it is possible to call from Skype for Business to that old Tandberg by means of TrueConf gateway. So to do that, I use the same command call, and after the space, I have to enter the call string. The call string, which are absolutely the same you will use in TrueConf client application. So in our case, it will be hash 323 colon at the IP address in our local network for the Tandberg endpoint. So I send the message. Our gateway will invite me and invite the Tandberg into the conference. So just a moment. Tandberg is a little bit slow. Yeah. We have some UDP issues. You see the pixels. Hello, Arsen. Well, the connection from your endpoint is not really good. But anyway, we are connected. We have connected Skype for Business user to free-to-free equipment by means of a simple command. I think we have some connectivity issues. That's why the video stream is a little bit corrupted. Okay, so this was pretty simple. We can do the same stuff into the during multipoint conference, and we can do the same stuff from TrueConf client application as well. I will end this call. We have covered the following things. I will return to the slides. So we can call from TrueConf application to Skype for Business applications. We can call from Skype for Business applications back to TrueConf client applications. We can combine different protocols on TrueConf gateway by means of special chat commands in Skype for Business interface, or by means of any TrueConf client applications you prefer to use. The next part is about API integration. API, this is a complicated stuff. If you are not a software developer or web developer, it will be difficult to understand. But in few words, the idea is that in new release, in 4.3.9, the API integrations become more secured, more reliable, and the most important thing, the administrator of TrueConf Server is now capable to control them, to control third-party applications which utilize API, and control users of those third-party applications which utilize API. Before that, that was not possible. So let me show you something. I don't want you to. I don't want to show you the actual keys for that server. I need some dummy server. Okay. I will delete those applications after the webinar, so you will not be able to use them. So the idea is that there is a special protocol which called OAuth 2. I will write it down. The protocol was designed to provide secure integration for third-party applications for your system. It has different authentication types. And those authentication types allows you to create different applications with different set of rights. If we return to the documentation of TrueConf Server, we have a detailed description of different authentication types. The section called OAuth. It is actually based on RFC 6749. A lot of boring stuff. Different authentication types are covered here. You have to read this to understand. So, but for administrator of the server, the important thing is that it is now possible to create a new application. Let's say test application. Redirect URL is not required for most of our authentication types. I will put some dummy address here. So when you're creating the new application, you can select the scope permissions for these applications, for this particular application. Permissions covers different functions of the server. For example, you can select the new application to allow users of this application to create conferences and to manage conferences they own, to manage participants of the conferences during the conference, or to manage the invitations of the conference before the conference start, to manage groups in which user to which user belongs to list other users from that group, to edit profile of the user, to change display name, to change email or phone number, or to see other users on the server, and to see address book of the user. So depending on the authentication type, these permissions have two separate scopes: the user-based scope or server-based scope. The user-based scope is limited to entities which belongs to this user. For example, if a third-party application authenticates using user scope, these permissions will only allow to see conferences to which this particular user is belong, where it is an owner or where it is listed as a participant. If we talk about server scope, third-party applications authenticated using server scope will be able to see all conferences of the server, all groups, all users, all address books, and control everything. So server scope is actually the same stuff we had before. Before we had only one API key, which allowed you to control all conferences and users on the server. You can create special keys for third-party applications. You can regenerate them, and by clicking on that button, so if we edit the application, it's possible to regenerate the new key. And once we have regenerated the key, all applications which connect to the server using this key will be disconnected. So, and they will not be able to interact with the server anymore. So, but it is not required to delete the application, but you can just regenerate the secret key. It is possible to see which users use third-party applications. In the table below, which is labeled access tokens, we can see which access tokens was created for users for that particular application. Well, that's complicated, but anyway, you can remove some access token for some particular user if you want to remove this user to access third-party application, etc. So the new API is a little bit complicated, but allows you to control solutions which use your server. This is very, very, very important. Very important because it brings more security. Yeah. We also introduced new calls and new functions for API. All of them are covered in the changelog. Yeah, we have a section in our changelog about API V3. You see a lot of added things. So those added things brings new calls and new functions. I will not cover all of them here. The most important thing I will show you in our documentation. So we have a special website for developers, which is developers.trueconf.com. In top menu, we have API section. This is where you can find the documentation for TrueConf Server API. All versions of API are back compatible. That means if you already created some solutions for TrueConf Server integrations using the previous version of our API, it will continue to work. We make sure that all previous versions are fully supported. You see that API was introduced in version of TrueConf Server 4.3.5, and even applications created for 4.3.5 version is still will continue to work. The most important thing here in the new version is that we allows you to send objects instead of values. For example, if you'd like to create a conference, you don't need to send us the conference name, the list of conference participants as a separate parameters. All you have to do is to send us a new object. The conference object, for example, if you'd like to create a conference, and that conference object will have all the fields we need. So that looks like that. This is a conference object. So basically, you can use the technique which is called serialization to JSON. So in any programming language, you create an object, convert it to JSON format, which, believe me, all programming languages allow to do very easily, and you can send this object directly to our API. That dramatically simplify interaction for third-party developers with our server. That's important, the support for JSON objects. And everything else is limited to new commands. Yeah, a lot of new commands. Next part, deep links and uplinks. If you try to join this conference from a mobile application and you don't have our mobile application installed, there is no way for you to join it. So in order to achieve this, we have supported technology called applinks. And this technology, well, it is not possible for me to show you right now, but if you try to connect this link from your Android device, you will see that if you don't have our application installed, you will be redirected to Google Play or App Store. And once you finish the installation of TrueConf application, you will be and reload the page, you will connect the conference using this application automatically. We support guest connections, so it is not possible. I mean, it is possible not to use account from the server. If you have created the public conference, iOS and Android users will be able to join it under guest name. No need for authentication for them. So this technology uplinks basically is the installation process. So it helps us to detect the conference. It also transfer the user to the App Store or Google Play, and after the reload of the page, it will allow this mobile user to join this particular conference under the guest name. So this technology called uplinks was designed to achieve this. If you Google it, for example, Facebook have implementation for uplinks, you can see more details for that technology. And another thing is deep link. So deep links is a little bit different. If I open the page of our conference, Internet Explorer is so slow. Well, yeah, it is so slow. Okay, so if we open code for this conference, you see that we have a lot of parameters in the header section, and these parameters cover a lot of things. They cover uplinks, they also cover deep links. So they have information about the server where the conference is held. It have the information about the user which you use to authenticate, or maybe not. I'm not sure about user information. It definitely have information about the server and the conference ID. So the idea is that when you try to call this link from our application, or when you try to put this link in the Facebook post or somewhere, the information about this conference will be publicated with a more details. In case of Facebook publication, deep linking allows us to create a nice view snippet with the name of the conference and short description of it. In case of our client application, let me show you. For example, I can paste this link. I can paste this link to client application, and we will parse it and connect this conference. Yeah, you see that we have connected to this conference from other server, from other client applications by basically copy and paste the link to the conference into client application of TrueConf. So now, right now, you can copy and paste any conference URL into any of our applications to join that conference, no matter on which server it is ongoing. So that was Deeplinks. For example, I have pretty old version of Internet Explorer, and I will try to join our conference from Internet Explorer, which don't support WebRTC. Our server 439 will offer different methods to join the conference. So I have TrueConf application pre-installed, so I can click here and I will connect to this conference using the login name and password of the application which I'm running right now, which I'm using right now. But it is possible to join this conference by means of temporary application, single run, single use application, which do not require any installation. It is not an installer. You don't need to install anything. You just click here, click on save. You see that the name of the client application is pretty long because the server name, conference ID, your guest name are encoded into the file name. You only need to run this application. You don't need to install it. So you can tell your customers by using TrueConf Server in the browser, which don't support WebRTC, you can join conference without installation of anything. You don't need administrative privileges. You have to be a regular user to run this single-use application. That's it. Just a moment. Yeah, I click on run. I hope it will not disconnect me from other applications. Yes, and I'm connected to the conference. Slideshow, users, all that stuff. So you have seen that I didn't install anything. I just opened the file I have downloaded. I run the application. That's it. Okay, I believe it. The new features of the client application 659, which we're using right now. So this is a new application. It looks a little bit old, but it is actually a new version, 659, which have some new features. Let me show you. I have already I have demonstrated this feature already last time on our previous webinar, but it's still pretty important. So in slideshow, it is possible to capture the screen. So let me show you how to do that. I have to create a call or conference. I have created a conference. And now it is possible to capture my second monitor and send it to the conference along with my video. You don't see it because I'm connected to a separate server right now. But if you open the recording of our previous webinar, you will see how it works. The idea is to deliver the second content stream to legacy equipment, because this slideshow, which is automatically generated from my second monitor, are delivered using BFCP protocol and H.239 protocol to any third-party endpoints which are connected to the same conference or to the same call. So it is possible to send dual video I can send my video and my content simultaneously to third-party equipment by use of this new slideshow feature. That was it is achieved by means of creation of slides automatically. Okay, I'm start the session and end the conference. Next feature is about PTZ camera control. So, for example, if you try to call some legacy endpoint which have PTZ camera, you can send commands by means of FECC protocol if we are connected over SIP, and by means of 224 protocol, H224 protocol, if we are connected over V.3 protocol to control the remote camera. So let me show you how to do that. I have address for the same Tandberg. Well, we have pretty bad connection to Kharkov. The video probably will be a little bit corrupted, but anyway, you will have the idea. So I put the address of this endpoint in my call to string and initialize the call. Take a while. Yeah, we are connected. This is the arm of Arsene. Hello, Arsene. Yeah, we can hear you. I mean, we can see you. Of course, we don't hear you. And all I have to do is bring up the drop-down menu and open Show Camera Control Panel. It is in the top right corner of the video window. And now I can control the camera. I just zoom out a little bit and change camera rotation and a little bit up. Yeah, camera is pretty close to Arsene. Hello, Arsene. Yeah, we can see you very well. Yeah, so we have received the keyframe. So you see that it is possible to control the remote camera from my side, from remote side. So this is the new feature in this new version of TrueConf Client 6.5.9. Okay, I will drop the call. So please use this link for changelog to see all the information about this release. So the question is the desktop sharing is going to be available to WebRTC users in this version? Yes, of course, it is possible to share the screen from WebRTC. Okay, let me show you. I will invite my second user, master of layouts, to the podium. It don't have a camera, but it is possible to capture the screen. So instead of camera, I will start to send his screen. So I'm, let me show you. You can see that I have Chrome browser, which capture my second screen, and it has the red triangle in the content capture icon, which shows me that my content is being captured. So if I open anything on the second monitor, it will be captured. Another question. Could you explain the case of user connection authentication key and guest connection authentication key? Yes, I can. So those special keys are pretty important for integration with third-party systems like SharePoint, like SAP, like LDAP or Active Directory. Those special key, you have to care about them. You don't need to publish them anywhere because they are very powerful. So those key allows any user to authenticate on your server under existing username, under existing user account, or under any name of guest user. So for example, if you don't know the login and password of some of your users, because you don't manage users' passwords, they actually provide them themselves in Active Directory, for example. But you need to authenticate some third-party solution on TrueConf Server. Under this particular user, you can use user connection authentication key. So it will drop this exact particular user from TrueConf Server and connect your third-party application to TrueConf Server under his account. And the same is valid for guest account. So those keys are pretty powerful, and you have to use them with care. Does for-end camera control support Visca over UDP protocol? Well, I'm not sure. I can write down which we support. I think if the protocols are listed here, which are FECC Q922, H224, and H281, allows you to control cameras connected using Visca, it can be done. So from my perspective, we only send commands to the remote endpoint. It doesn't matter which protocol is used by remote endpoint to control the camera. It could be Visca, it could be Pelka, it could be UVC if camera is connected over USB. So it is not our business. We only send commands to the remote endpoint using these protocols to change camera position and coordinates. If camera support those, if remote endpoint support these protocols, it will control the camera by means of the protocol he needs. It is not our business. It is an endpoint business. I think that's enough. Thank you, everyone. The next webinar will be held, I don't know when, probably in January. So I wish you, all of you, a great holidays, great Christmas, great New Year, and I hope to see all of you in 2018. And I hope you will able to join our next webinar in January. And thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned. We're working to bring more features to you every day. Thank you, and bye-bye, everyone. Goodbye. Thank you again.